Hi everyone, welcome back to the voice tip video series with the Cantor Coach. This week we are going to talk about practicing. Practicing is really important when it comes to singing. I know you've probably heard that many times before, whether it's music or sports, you name it, but practice, I like to say practice makes progress. So with practicing, you can help build muscle memory and you can also be a more confident singer when you get up in front of an audience. So what do I mean by muscle memory? If you think about an athlete that goes to the gym, the more reps that they do on whatever muscle they're working on, the stronger the muscle gets. It's the same thing for our voices. The more that we do something correctly, or the more that we practice it, the more consistent it's going to be when we're singing in front of a group of people. So today I have 5 quick tips that should equal roughly about 25 minutes of practice time for you. So think about each tip is roughly 5 minutes, but it can make up a nice practice session for you as you're learning new pieces of music for church. So tip number 1 is to write in your breaths in your music. Now, typically what we want to look for whenever we're singing through a piece of music is to be able to sustain 4-bar phrases. And usually they fall within the cadences of the natural pauses in the text that you have in the music. So this can be either periods or commas. But what I like to do is I like to go through my music, spend about 5 minutes doing this, and circle the commas or draw a little check mark or put a little star there, or I even write the word breathe. But it just is a helpful reminder so that when I approach the piece later, I'll know exactly when I'm supposed to breathe. Tip number 2 is to learn the notes of the piece. That would be the next step. And what I do for this is I will usually sing the vowels, or sing like one vowel for the entire piece as I'm learning the notes. And you can play the notes on the piano. You can usually find a sample recording of this. I do recommend trying to do the piano if that's something you're able to do. But yeah, pick a vowel. I usually pick O and I sing through the entire song on one vowel. That way you just get used to the notes and you get used to the cadence of the piece. And tip number 3 is then to go in and write in all the vowels. We've just spent a lot of time the last few weeks talking about vowels, so go in and write the main vowels that are in each of the words and sing through the piece just on the vowels. This can be kind of tricky, but if you think of the song Amazing Grace, for example, it's Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. If I were to just sing the vowels in that piece, it would sound something like this. Kind of sounds a little silly, but what's really great about this is it helps pay attention to those vowels in each of those words. Tip number 4 is to then add the consonants. So then we go back and add the consonants to those vowels. Again, remember from our vowel videos, it is about 80% vowel, 20% consonant. You put those consonants in, make sure they're clear and crisp. And then tip number 5 would be to go through and add your dynamics. And dynamics mean usually the way that the piece is intended to sound via the composer. So certain areas are going to be louder, certain areas are going to be softer. We call those forte, we call those piano. I'll do another video on dynamics at another time. But what we want to make sure is that we're doing the expression of the piece in the way that the composer intended it to be. So those are my 5 tips. Tip number 1, write in your breaths. Tip number 2, learn the notes, usually on one vowel. Tip number 3 is to sing all of the words with just the vowels. Tip number 4 would be to add in the consonants. And tip number 5 is to add the dynamics. Each one of those can take roughly 5 minutes, and that gives you 25 minutes of practice time. Thank you guys so much. I'll look forward to seeing you next week where we talk a little bit more about what it looks like to warm up for singing. God bless you guys.